Hey everyone, so I'm going to do an update to my context plan tutorial that I created last year. Last year the students had to select a 1 kilometer site, and so there was a few extra steps, and I wanted to streamline this and make it a little bit easier for you to generate your context plan. So in Google Earth Pro, I'm just going to navigate to my demo site location in Vancouver. And when we're thinking about a context plan, we want to think about how we can help people who have never been to our site and maybe not even to our city to understand where this site is located. So for me, what I might do to get a really good context plan is actually be very zoomed out of the city. And maybe what I would do is go down somewhere like this. I believe the park site itself is this site right here. So what I want to do is make sure that I have some landmarks that people can associate with the site in my view. So that might be even zooming out a little bit further like this so that people can see how far away from the water's edge and the downtown core this site is. And I'm just going to try to kind of center it in the view, but I still need to have this shoreline, so I'm just going to let it live in the bottom half. So I'm going to go to Reset, Tilt, and Compass so that I can be sure I'm oriented north and that I'm not in a distorted view. And then I am also going to go into my options and make sure that I'm in meters and kilometers here. So I want to make sure I have that so that I can use my scale bar later to scale this properly. So if you're happy with the view that you have, all you need to do is just save it as an image, and that will bring up a few options. I'm going to uncheck title, description, and legend and leave scale and compass on. And I'm just going to change my resolution to the maximum that's supported here, and I will save my image. All right, now that I have an image saved, I can open up Rhino, and this is where we're going to scale this so that it is at the right scale and resolution. So I need to grab my file and drag it in. I'm going to start it at 0, 0, and I'm just going to drag it up anywhere on this screen, and I'll maximize my top view. I'm just going to zoom into this scale ruler here. So this scale bar says that we're looking at a scale of 1 to probably 10,000 based on the size of this. And so this scale bar represents 1 kilometer of space. So we can use that as the tool to scale this properly. So I'm going to select the image, and first I'm just going to check my units. I'll write in units and make sure that I'm in meters, so I'm in the same units that I want to be in for my context plan. And then I'm going to use SC for scale and select one end of this line as a base point and the other end as the reference point, and I'll use Shift to constrain this. And then I'm going to just type in 1,000 because we're in meters, 1,000. So that 1 kilometer is equivalent to 1,000 meters. And I'll hit enter, and that will scale it up to its proper size. Now this is huge. This is a really large file. I'm just going to move it from the corner here back to 0, 0 so that when we export it to Illustrator, it shows up at the right size. Now, what we want to do is just draw a box around this as a reference. I'm going to use the rectangle command and just trace around the edge. And now I'm going to select the entirety and go export selected. I'll save that as a AI file and call it context plan 10,000. Now to get this scale, we're going to use our scale website that helps us understand how many meters to millimeters this should be. So in my scale converter, I am doing 1 to 10,000, which means 1 meter will be 0.1 millimeters. So I type in 0.1 here and hit OK. And now I can move to Illustrator and drag my file in. And hopefully it's not too big that we can't see it. All right, so here is our square. You see it doesn't bring the image in, which is why we drew the box just in case. So I'm gonna move this into the center of the screen, and then just use my artboard tool and use fit to artwork bounds like this. And I'm gonna just resize it a little bit bigger. So holding down Alt and then dragging on one of these corners is going to resize it uniformly around the edge. So I just want to make sure I have a little bit of an edge so that I can add some title information, etc. All right, so these paths are indicative of the image that was there before, but we can just get rid of that. And now we're going to drag and drop our image back into this view. So the only reason we use Rhino here is to get a properly scaled 1 to 10,000 site plan so that we're not just dragging in a file and guessing at what the scale is. I can drag my file in and I can resize it so that it fits within that bounding box. And then I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to use copy and then paste in place so that I have two image files, and one of them I'm going to put on a layer called color, and I will move that into that layer, and the other one I'm going to call black and white. So I'm going to select the image that is in my black and white folder, and the first thing I'm going to do is just hit this embed button up here. That's going to remove it as a linked file and embed it into the document, which means we can change its color properties. So I'll hit embed, and now when I click on it and go to edit colors, I can convert it to grayscale. So now we have a black and white background image and a color image over top, and we can use these two to highlight the zone that we're looking at in our context plan. So I'm going to make this around 65% opacity, just to maybe let it take a back seat to the highlighted area, which is going to be in color. I will make a new layer and just call it box, and I'm going to draw a box around the site that I'm working on. So if I zoom in here and I go over here to this area, I can draw a square around this area, and I'm just going to kind of center it over top of my site. And I will give that a color of white on its stroke. And I'm going to duplicate this square so that we have two of them. So I'll just do copy and paste in place. Now we should have two rectangles on our screen. I'm going to turn one of them off and select the other one. And then I'm going to select the color image behind it. I'm holding down Shift to select that. And now I'm going to right click and go make clipping mask. And now we just have this highlighted color square in this broader context map here. And if we turn on our other rectangle and select it, now we can thicken that up and use that as an outline for highlighting our site on this plan. So maybe I'll even thicken that up a little bit more just so that it's extra obvious that this is our site. And I know this is like a really, really zoomed out context map. Wherever your site is located is going to determine how big of a map you need, but you're probably going to have reviewers who are not from the city. So you're going to want to be able to locate them within the city so that they can understand generally where your site is located according to the like downtown area, the shoreline, major other parks and gardens and things like that. So keep in mind that not everybody who's looking at your project is going to be familiar with the city, and that it's your job to introduce them to this site. So after we've done that, we can make another layer called annotations. And that's when you can begin to give your information a title. You can add descriptive text. So you might want to add a few labels to this. So you can call this Riley Park. Obviously, we'll want to change our fonts and the color of them and the size so that they are visible on the screen. Keep in mind that this screen that we're seeing here is going to fit into one slide of your presentation. So make your text as large as it needs to be in order for it to be legible at this size. So I might make my text white to make it stand out a little bit against the background. And then you can begin filling in some of the other landmarks around the city. So you might say seawall, downtown. And of course, don't forget to give your drawing a title and a scale and a north arrow. So I'm going to just leave it here because you know where to find those elements and how to put them onto your page. But this just is a short demo to show you how you can create a scaled context plan. And you can use this to create a more zoomed in site plan as well. If you want to then do a zoom like this, you can create another site plan that's more zoomed in using the same process. You would just scale it according to the scale bar that this image is exported with in Rhino and do the same process in Illustrator to highlight your site.